What's up, guys? This is Anime Crossover. I'm back with another episode of What If Naruto Was Trained by the Dragon King of the Sea, Part 6. And if you did enjoy this video, give this video a like. And if you're new to my channel and like my content, subscribe and hit that notification bell for more crossover fictions with the twist. Now let's begin this new video.
24th chapter. Titania meets the Ice Queen. How's everything at your new place, Wendy? Lucy said of her fellow female magician, who grinned. It's great so far. Fairy Hills is a nice place, though I wonder why you aren't staying there, Lucy. The Sky Maiden made a short nervous giggle after hearing Lucy claim she couldn't afford it and that she didn't realize they had a girls' dorm until much later. Mira showed up with their meals and beverages. Here you go. Mira exclaimed cheerfully, flashing a heart-melting smile. The girls were overjoyed and expressed gratitude for the meal. They ate their food with grace, as opposed to the male dragon slayers, who ate like animals. Levi and Lucy gazed at them with annoyance, and Wendy grinned nervously. Naruto noticed this and returned her grin, putting her at ease. She was surprised when Natsu and Gajeel got into a fight and accidentally hit Naruto. You bastards. Naruto stood up and joined their brawl, followed by the others. Do they always fight? Wendy inquired, to which Lucy replied by nodding and explained that this was a typical day for Fairy Tail. Where is my darling Gray? Juvia searched the guild but couldn't find the ice wizard. Mira responded, telling her that he was on the job. The Assembly of Wizard Saints, the old man with glasses stated, Grimoire Heart has made their move. Wolfheim is the third seat. Warrod Sequin, the fourth seat, is the Tree Man, and Draculo's Hyberion, the second seat, is the Vampiric Man. They felt a gigantic magic signature in the room that dwarfed their own before anyone else could say anything. On top of their table, a man appeared. I apologize for being late, but have no fear, my friends. God Serena has arrived. God Serena was a middle-aged man with protruding hair fashioned like rabbit ears. Serena, the first and most powerful of the wizard saints. The majority of the saints in the room just appeared displeased by his appearance, despite the fact that everyone understood that while he was behaving stupid, his magical strength demonstrated to them that he was not to be underestimated. Please God Serena, take your seat so that we can continue, Hyberion said politely. He repeated what Wolfheim had said previously, only for a smokescreen to appear. A man with silver gravity-defying hair wore a navy blue bodysuit with an open collar revealing his chest, 2 silver knight gauntlets, silver knight leggings, and a sword hilt strapped to his left hip. He had a scar over his left eye, yet he could still see. Kakashi Hatake. Always the last one to arrive, Hyberion groaned, waiting for the pitiful excuse Kakashi was known for. Well, a black cat got in my way, so I had to take the long route, everyone grumbled, including the more serious ones. Kakashi took his seat, appearing anxious as the majority of the people looked at him. Please continue, Master Hyberion, Anastasia said politely as the gentleman went on. As I previously stated, Grimoire Heart has already made their move, and they have taken out a few towns in search of certain artifacts. Hyberion paused before continuing. The keys of Zeref. The keys of Zeref? Ostrava inquired, and Anastasia responded. I did some research and discovered that they are keys that would be used to reawaken Zeref from his long slumber, according to legend. She then related the incident with Aetherion. That female council member, Ultear, she was nowhere to be found, and the key that the council had in its possession is gone. You're implying Ultear is a Grimoire Heart member? Kakashi questioned, but Anastasia shook her head. I'm not implying, I'm saying it. After the battle with the Oración Cease, the fairy tale wizards met with her, and she revealed herself to be a Grimoire Heart member, she added, her voice a little worried. Makarov corroborated Anastasia's account. Not only that, but Jelal is alive and now a part of Grimoire Heart, he said, and Warrod no longer remained mute. Oh, he was the original 8th seat, wasn't he? Warrod was met with silence. I see Grimoire Heart has already taken one of our former members, and we have no idea how powerful they are. It doesn't matter. The 4 of us would be more than enough to deal with them individually. In fact, if I ever meet them, I will bring their broken bodies in front of you, God Serena bragged arrogantly, but most of the saints felt he could back up his words. Even so, God Serena, don't underestimate them. Hyberion was harsh enough to irritate Serena. If you say so, Hyberion, I will respect your wishes. Serena listened to Hyberion, who had previously held the first seat. He fixed his gaze on Anastasia. You stated that Fairy Tail was primarily responsible for defeating the Oración Cease, but you forgot to mention that they also eliminated 2 Demon Blades members. Technically 3. Zabuza Momochi was defeated by another one of my brats, Makarov interrupted proudly. I stand corrected. What are the names of your brats who beat them? Serena and the others were intrigued. Natsu Dragneel, Urza Scarlet, and Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto's name jogged Jura's memory. Excuse me, Master Makarov. I have discovered something about the person Sir Natsu defeated. Jura had everyone's attention at this point. The name of the Demon Blade member we met was Silva Uzumaki. This piqued the interest of the majority of them. Is it you, Silva Uzumaki? I am positive that Minato and Kushina only had Naruto. Riku is the only other Uzumaki I'm aware of. Is he still living? Makarov was deep in contemplation while the meeting continued for at least a couple hours. Returning with Fairy Tail, Wendy remarked, "Looks like the fighting has stopped." Naruto approached her, holding a box. "Hey, Naruto, what have you got there?" she inquired, and Naruto just opened it to reveal a strawberry cheesecake, one of Wendy's favorites. "How did you know I like these? And why?" Wendy's face brightened up. "Urza told me that it's goodwill to get someone new to the guild a gift and make them feel welcome. I asked Mira what would be good to get you and she suggested sweets. I thought about the times Urza had cake and then here we are." Wendy gladly accepted the cake, though she was a little disappointed that it was only a welcome gift for some reason. "I'll see you around, Wendy. I've got something for Master," Naruto remarked as he kissed Mira and Wendy goodbye. "You know, Wendy, Naruto has never brought anyone a welcoming gift before, and you're the first person to receive one from him," Mira said softly, making the younger girl flush. "How come I feel so joyful knowing that?" Wendy averted her gaze and smiled. Mistogen was watching her from the first floor, unbeknownst to her. "Say, why don't you invite Naruto to the Cherry Blossom Festival in a few days? I mean, it's better to watch the Rainbow Sakura with someone." Mira winked at Wendy, who understood what Mira meant when she asked Naruto. "Why you mean like a D-date?" She noticed Mira's smile, followed by another wink. "And no, I mean, we're just friends." Wendy reassured herself rather than Mira. "Right? Well, why not? It could be fun, and besides, I think you have a crush on him," Mira teased, making Wendy's ears race up. Meanwhile, Lucy just laughed at the thought of Mira attacking Wendy instead of her. Mistogen gazed down to the guild hall from the first floor. "You've come a long way since you were a tiny child, Wendy. I hope I can still save you before the storm." Mistogen returned to the S-class board to look for another employment. "Along with S-Death, perhaps I can cause a commotion and get her attention?" S-Death passed past a number of stands and shops. "A cake shop, I see. I might as well have some cake before I pillage this town," S-Death said as she strolled through the door and ordered a cake from the female baker. "I'm curious what he wants with Titania." She started to ponder to herself. "I wonder whether I could shatter her spirit if I had the opportunity to abuse her." S-Death was interrupted in her thoughts when the door opened to show one of her thoughts, Urza Scarlet in her Heart Cruise armor. "Ah, Miss Urza. Your order is ready." The baker smiled warmly at the redhead, unaware that she had betrayed S-Death's objective. S-Death laughed and emitted some bloodlust, which alerted Urza, who grabbed the baker and jumped out of the shop as S-Death unleashed her ice, destroying it. "What is ice magic?" Urza summoned her sword after sensing a powerful bloodlust emanating from the blue-haired woman. "Who are you?" she shouted, only to use her blade to deflect S-Death's rapier. "She's quick." Urza held her own and locked blades with S-Death. "Her bloodlust is as intense as Orion's." "No, it's even worse." Her thoughts diverted her attention long enough for S-Death to freeze Urza's blade and gauntlet, forcing her to take a step back. She was swift enough to withdraw and keep me from freezing her. S-Death watched Urza break through the ice. She then drew closer to prevent Urza from re-equipping, only for Urza to jump over the Ice Queen's head and re-equip to her Flame Empress armor. Her ability to instantly change into different armors was not an exaggeration. "My heart is racing." S-Death observed that the people around them were terrified. S-Death swung her left arm, releasing rows of ice to impale the civilians, only for Urza to materialize in front of them and smash the ice with her flame sword. "You think you can beat my ice with meager fire and an armor that allows you to use flames?" S-Death's grin appeared diabolical to Urza. "Get out of here right now," Urza exclaimed to the civilians, including the baker. They all complied. S-Death struck with Urza's back turned, only for Urza to retaliate with a fiery upward thrust, only for S-Death to move out of the path. "She's not taking me seriously, she's testing me." Urza was angry on the inside, but she knew that anger would be her undoing with the opponent in front of her. Urza slashed her sword into the earth, releasing many streams of flames that she directed at S-Death, who had built a massive ice wall to protect herself. Urza charged S-Death, who conjured a swarm of ice shards and hurled them at the fairy tale wizard. Urza outmaneuvered them only to be confronted with S-Death's kick, which pierced her Flame Empress armor. "One kick shattered my armor." Urza had already changed into her Blackwing armor and rebounded, moving at such a fast pace that Esdeath had to shield herself with ice. Urza broke through, only for Esdeath to react with her own sword slash. Hey. Esdeath was having a good time. Not bad. If I hadn't been tasked with bringing you back to life, I would have loved breaking your spirit then killing you. Urza jumped back and kept her cool. What do you want me for? I've never met you before, Urza said, unfazed by Esdeath's rising bloodlust. My leader wants you for some reason, though it's probably because you defeated Orion in battle, Urza deduced from Esdeath's mention of Orion. You, like Zabuza and Orion, are demon blades. Urza adopted a stance, while Esdeath remained relaxed. Esdeath expected Urza's rapid movement and constructed a small improvised ice shield, only for Urza to burst through and land a body blow on Esdeath, sending the Ice Queen to fly back until she regained her footing. She easily burst through my shield and smacked me with brute power before I could respond. I guess I can't mess with this one. How perplexing. Esdeath was ecstatic rather than irritated. Esdeath moved faster this time, but Urza was able to react, albeit barely in her present armor and with a few scrapes on her body. However, Fairy Tail's strongest female wizard failed to notice the scratches worsening over time. My motions are becoming slower. Urza sacrificed her Black Wing's blade by tossing it at Esdeath and retreated back to gain some distance, taking to the rooftops and increasing the distance between them. You've noticed, just like the others in the Demon Blades, my rapier has special properties. Even the smallest scratch becomes a dangerous wound within seconds, a non-fatal wound becomes fatal. This blade prolongs pain and the injuries cannot be healed naturally. You would need an outside source, and even then, they would have to be pretty talented. Esdeath looked around to see the devastation they had caused so far. That's good to know. I'll have Wendy or the old lady assist Urza after I'm done with you, Esdeath said, only to be met with a massive hammer and sent flying through another stand. Listen to Fairy Tail Ost Ice Boy. Why are you here? Urza said of the person who had come to her aid. Gray had returned, this time dressed. Master Makarov, do you know anything about this Silva Uzumaki? Anastasia inquired of the old man. I would assume since you are young Naruto's guildmaster and from what Jura says, he has no idea who he is. Naruto's mother's last name was Uzumaki, but he has long since passed away, Makarov said, furious that he had mentioned Kushina. However, she did have a brother, Riku Uzumaki, who you may be familiar with from his former title, Wolf Knight. Urza's address. Esdeath exited the building and glanced at Gray, but instead of her typical zeal, she sensed something familiar about him. Gray's magic, to be precise. He fashioned a magnificent hammer out of ice. Make ice, just like her. Esdeath felt wrath engulf her until she calmed down. What's your name? Esdeath asked Gray. Gray Fullbuster, and you are? Gray took a defensive position and prepared to cast a spell at any moment. Esdeath's body gradually discharges ice, which covers the ground and portions of the structures. Esdeath. But you don't need to remember it where you're going. Esdeath had already closed the distance between herself and Gray, seeking to incapacitate the ice wizard, only for Gray to back away. Urza utilized this to strike another hit on Esdeath, pushing her back. Your opponent is me. Urza exclaimed as she turned to face Gray. I'm taking her out of town. This woman is too dangerous to keep here for long. If we let her stay, there's no telling what she'll do. Urza moved quickly and speared Esdeath, lifting them into the air and flying them out of town. Damn you, Urza. Gray took to the roofs and followed them. She stated she wanted you alive, she doesn't care in what condition you'd be in. They were unaware that another person was there and heard everything. Along with Urza and Esdeath, Esdeath began to struggle against Urza, eventually freeing one arm. With her free hand, Esdeath grasped her rapier and attempted to attack Urza, only for Urza to release her when she had barely made it to the outskirts of Magnolia. You allowed me to bring you here, you could have easily escaped. It was more of an accusation than a question. Of course, you seem to be able to fight better without worrying about weaklings. Normally, I would just kill them, but I let you have your way. Now, entertain me. Esdeath clapped her hands and shot icicles at Urza, who took to the heavens and escaped them all. You can't escape even if you fly. Esdeath was bleeding from her wrists and ankles. Esdeath flew through the air, summoning additional icicles to assault Urza. Listen to Fairy Tail Ost Urza vs. Urza. Can she fly by putting ice on her body? Urza swiftly shifted into her Heaven's Wheel armor, and the swords around her swirled around her, smashing the bullets. Urza charged Esdeath. Urza had the upper hand in the skies, unlike before. I was overconfident. I had only recently learned this talent, but she has experience in aerial warfare. She received a minor cut on her left arm and was forced to retreat. Urza, on the other hand, desired to conclude this battle as soon as possible. Her right arm was smashed by an ice shard, causing her to lose momentum and collapse before regaining her footing. It's the shards wrapped around her arms and legs that allow her to fly. Taking them out will keep her from flying. Urza charged, her sword circling her. Esdeath used her ice shards to take a hit before freezing Urza's armor and pushing her to the ground. Urza's assault knocked Esdeath to the ground as well. End of Ost. Urza rose slowly, followed by Esdeath, who had suffered slight injuries herself. Urza panted, her previous injuries and the new ones she had just sustained. If I hadn't allowed myself to take those earlier hits, I might have had a greater chance of taking her out. Urza used re-equip again and selected her clear heart costume, this time with a katana in hand. Focus my power into this blade, sacrifice all defense to strengthen my offense, Urza said as she took a stance, her katana pointed behind her and an aura surrounding her. Urza, re-energized, charged Esdeath, whose rapier connected with Urza's katana. Esdeath was gradually pushed back till she pushed Urza back. They both remained in their positions. She's throwing her last strength into her assaults, implying she's defenseless. Esdeath used her left to generate many icicles, only for Urza's power to burst and release a shockwave that obliterated them and blasted Esdeath away, leaving the Ice Queen standing on her feet. What? Esdeath's rapier has developed some cracks. She cracked my sword. Esdeath laid her palm on the ground and froze it, but Urza moved too quickly to be frozen. Esdeath created ice on several occasions to stop Urza's sword blows. Esdeath advanced and erected a massive pillar of ice to crush Urza. Urza, on the other hand, broke it in half, giving Esdeath the opportunity to penetrate Urza's shoulder with an ice sword she fashioned. Urza flinched, allowing Esdeath to rush in and try to freeze her, only to be greeted with an upward slash that forced her back. In Grey, those sounds, that has to be them. Grey would have carried if a blue wyvern hadn't appeared out of nowhere and tried to eat him. Grey leapt and landed on the creature's back, asking, "Where did this thing come from? I don't have time to deal with you." The wyvern rushed to the air to shake Grey off, but Grey took advantage of this. Grey began to create ice chains and a collar for the creature's neck. Returning with Urza and Esdeath, to equal Urza's striking power, Esdeath created another ice blade and dual-wielded it. She also infused her rapier with ice magic. Esdeath turned around and hurled an ice shard towards Urza, who used her speed to outmaneuver them. She swung her blade as soon as she bridged the gap, only for Esdeath to block with her own weapons. Hey! Esdeath's grin returned, making Urza even furious, but the redhead kept her cool to continue sparring with the Ice Queen. "Give up! Your injuries are worsening by the minute, and my orders were to bring you in alive." "Never. I will be the one to defeat you here." Urza growled in anguish, her injuries needed to be healed, and the fight had to be finished. Unfortunately for her, she lacked the stamina to continue. If she left an opportunity, I could finish this in one attack with all my magical strength. End of Ost. Erza. Grey's shout echoed, drawing the attention of the two warriors to the air, where Grey was directing the wyvern. "He took control of my pet," Esdeath said, leaping out of the way as Grey caused Esdeath's wyvern to plunge down to attack her, only for Esdeath to jump and smack her pet, forcing Grey to flee. "Damn, she's a monster like Urza." Grey stood next to Urza, ready to attack her together. She employs ice magic, yet her blade has the ability to make little cuts into wounds, which cannot be healed properly. And he noticed her grin. "I can see wickedness in her heart." "Pretty reckless of you to face her alone in your condition," Grey said to Urza, who smiled back. "Sorry, but she's someone I couldn't take lightly, but since you're here, we can stop her now." Urza didn't notice Grey's frustrated expression. "You can try, not that it would make any difference." Esdeath disliked Grey for some reason. She swung her blade in his direction. "I have to bring Titania back to life, but you are expendable. Try it. Even though you can take Urza by yourself, you've already fought enough today, and we outnumber you." Grey constructed his own ice blade, which, unlike Esdeath's, was precisely crafted and resembled an actual sword. "Urza, let me lead, and when the chance comes, you finish it." Urza knew she couldn't defeat Esdeath on her own. "Enough talking. Let's put an end to this." The fairy tale wizards advanced rapidly, and their weapons connected with Esdeath's. Watch Fairy Tale. Scarlet Warriors Ost. Esdeath took a step back and built another massive pillar, riding it, and then creating many icicles to confuse the two. Grey twisted his ice swords to deflect the blasts while tending to the pillar. "Got you." Esdeath summoned additional ice blades, this time imitating Urza's Heaven Wheel Armor's dancing blades, causing the redhead to flee. Urza was fortunate that Grey used his ice make lance to take care of them, but this drew Esdeath's notice to him. Esdeath closed the gap and tried to slash Grey with her ice blade, but Grey stopped her with his bare hands. Grey took advantage of the opportunity to handle the ice blade, which had been transformed into an axe. He transformed the shape of my ice. Death stopped it and hit Gray, but the ice wizard rebounded. Gray replied, "Yep, monster strength," before dodging some shots. "She's tenacious," Urza said as she tackled Death, who rolled back and regained her feet. "Gray, now!" Urza exclaimed. "Ice make, cannon!" Gray yelled at Death, who cartwheeled back from the blast, but the aftershock nearly knocked her off her feet. Their collaboration is outstanding. I might have to play my trump card. Death dashed towards Gray, avoiding Urza's charge, before hurling a big ice boulder at Gray, who effortlessly smashed through it. This gave Death the opportunity to slam him to the ground. Gray. Urza kicked Death and regained her strength, putting Death on the defensive once more. Ice arrows were likewise avoided by Death. Gray was back on his feet when she turned around. Death threw an icy shockwave at Urza, forcing her back. She charged at Gray, who dropped his bow and slid back on his knees. He smirked as Death was taken aback by what transpired next. "You're finished," Urza exclaimed, her blade poised to dispatch the demon blade. Then Death smirked. "End of Ost. I don't believe so. All will freeze in front of me." Death concentrated and cast another magic by connecting the tips of her fingers. "Mahapama!" screamed Death, and Urza came to a halt, frozen in place. Death smiled wickedly and replaced her rapier in its sheath. "This trump card allows me to stop time for a moment, so no one can move except me. The downside is that I can only use it once a day. I saved this spell so that I could use it to defeat that woman." Death's memory briefly flashed the face of the woman she was referring to. Gray, and Leon's old master's visage was visible. Death then let go of his blade and sliced Urza across the torso before turning to Gray. "It's your turn," she said hurriedly before her spell wore off. Gray's fingers twitched, and she was ready to stop him when she noticed something that astonished her. "What?" She backed up slightly when Gray's body moved. "He can move in my frozen space. He's fighting the cold." As Death's enchantment deactivated and time ran normally, Death tabbed Gray in the chest but missed his heart. "Gah!" both Urza and Gray said at the same time, with Urza shortly losing consciousness. "You moved just as I was about to pierce your heart. You should have let me pierce your heart. At the very least, your death would have been quick," Death boasted before seeing Gray grasp her sword and smash it with his bare hands. "Why, you haven't won yet," Gray said as he tried to rise up. "I won't let you take Urza." Death prepared an ice blade for the deadly blow when a blur pasted her and stole Gray from his location, causing Death to fall to the ground. "Another one?" Death asked, looking over his shoulder at Naruto. "That mark," she said, pointing to Naruto's right arm's navy blue guild mark. "You're one of their comrades, I assume?" "That's right, and I'm the one who'll beat you up." Naruto looked at her, ready to fight her with everything he had, even if it left him with a foul taste in his mouth knowing she was already tired and worn out from her battle with the other two. Death grinned and shifted his gaze to the side. "Pick up the girl," Death's pet wyvern shouted and lifted up Urza with its back, distracting Naruto enough for Death to freeze him in place for a brief second before the Dragon Slayer left with Gray. Death perched atop her pet as it flew away. Naruto was about to drop Gray when the Ice Wizard's wound grew worse. "Gray." Naruto was anxious for his companion when he heard Death chuckling and turned to face her. The blood on Urza vanished as Death picked out a bottle and dumped the contents at her. "This was the only antidote I had, and I brought it with me because I need Titania alive, but your friend is useless to me." Naruto wanted to jump and take her out, but Gray was running out of time. "Your choice, fight me or save your comrade," she smugly asked, as Naruto chose to save Gray's life, but not before speaking a few words. "We will find you and take Urza back. No matter where you are." Death then startled Naruto by tossing him a scroll. "That will lead you to me, and make sure to bring your guild friends with you. I want a good fight," Death said as Naruto used Dragon Jet to get Gray to Wendy so she could heal him. The Fairy Tail Guild was as boisterous as usual. Wendy was sharing her cake with Levi and Lucy as Natsu performed a dance that made the guild members giggle. That is, until the doors were slammed open and Naruto appeared, carrying the injured Gray over his shoulder. "Gray." Juvia was the first to respond and dashed over to them, concerned for Gray. After sliding everything off, Naruto brought the Ice Wizard to Makarov's office and set Gray on top of the desk. "Wendy. Gray needs your help." Naruto summoned the guild's sole healer. Wendy rushed up and took command. She was followed by the guild's more prominent members. "His shirt is in the way," Naruto said, ripping it open so she could assist her fellow guild member. Wendy initially considered what she could do about the Death's blade fragment lodged in Gray's body. Wendy focused her magic, and as soon as she touched the fractured point of the blade, she felt something unusual. This blade got stuck inside his wound, it's coated with a neurotoxin. If Gray hadn't frozen it, he'd be dead by now, Wendy said, her face concerned. Normally, if someone tries to remove the blade, the neurotoxin spreads and destroys his cells, Wendy said with a smirk. Something like this isn't a problem for me. Her palms began to glow, and she began to massage Gray. She then grasped the broken blade with her left hand while maintaining her healing spell with her right palm. This is going to hurt Gray a lot, Wendy said as she gently began to remove the blade, causing Gray to hiss in anguish. Here it is. She then rapidly removed the blade, causing Gray to scream in pain. Gah. Fortunately for Gray, Wendy's magic closed his wound and forced the neurotoxic out of his system. She ended her spell after a minute, and Gray was no longer in danger. Juvia repeatedly hugged and thanked Wendy. What happened? Mira asked Naruto sternly, for she was upset at the person who had done this to her friend, and she reasoned that since Naruto had brought Gray to the guild, he might know something. Shit. I forgot all about it, but Urza's been taken. This stunned everyone in the guild. Urza, Fairy Tail's strongest lady, had been abducted. Natsu snatched Naruto's shirt and stared at the blonde, who returned it with his own. What do you mean Urza's been taken? Natsu said, his voice tense. You should have stopped whoever took her. Did you even try to stop them? Naruto remained silent and accepted the abuses Lucy and Wendy hurled at him. Natsu, please let Naruto explain, we don't know what happened. Lucy begged Natsu, who sighed and released go of Naruto. Team Natsu members were aware that Urza had been captured previously, but they were unaware of the specifics of her capture this time. What happened, Naruto? Wendy said, standing worriedly close to Naruto. Naruto sighed and explained what had happened. I heard an explosion in town thanks to my hearing and then made my way to where it happened, where I heard the woman call herself Esdeath. Mira's expression clouded at this, but she waited until she told everyone what happened. By the time I arrived, Gray had followed Urza and Esdeath was about to finish off Gray, but I managed to stop her. He then glanced down. She needed Urza alive, and I had to make a choice, Naruto continued, explaining that Esdeath stole Urza alive and that he had to decide whether to pursue her or take Gray back. Natsu nodded and returned to Naruto, laying his hand on the blonde's shoulder. You chose to save Gray's life because you know Urza is safe for the time being. You chose to save your friend over pursuing the enemy. Natsu then did something no one expected him to do. I'm sorry for blaming you. Naruto liked that. I understand why. I would have done the same thing, Naruto said, pulling out a scroll, the same one Esdeath had hurled to him earlier. Esdeath said this would lead me to her and that she wants us to find her. Why would she want to do that? Wendy inquired, to which a feeble voice replied. Because she's a battle maniac. Gray gradually awoke, much to everyone's delight, especially Juvia's. The Rain Woman assisted him in getting up. She had the aura of a killer, a thirst for blood, but the worst part is she was ordered to take Urza, he said, looking at Natsu and Naruto in particular. She's one of the demon blades, several members gulped, but it had a profound influence on the two wizards who fought the other demon blade members. But why would they want just Urza? Didn't Naruto and Natsu also beat the other two guys? Wakaba questioned the demon blade's motivations. Mira took command, saying, that doesn't matter right now. I heard of Esdeath. She is not to be underestimated, she said, recalling the rumors. She is a monster in every sense of the word. She buried 400,000 people alive and ravaged villages. Esdeath's ruthlessness terrified and outraged the others in the room. Then we have to find her and get Urza back, Natsu said as he seized Naruto's scroll and opened it. Gray then replied carefully, it's a map. It could be a trap for all we know. Gray stood up again, still recuperating. And don't forget, Urza's been in this situation before, just like what happened on that island. Gray knew Urza was not to be underestimated, but that didn't make Urza any less dangerous. Do you think we should just let her go and hope Urza is lucky enough to escape on her own? Naruto asked fiercely, only to have Gray put his palm in front of him. I'm just saying we be cautious because an opponent like Esdeath is unlike any other we've faced before, he grinned. Of course we're going after her. She took one of our own, and that is unforgivable, Gray said as he returned his attention to Naruto. Besides, I have a score to settle with her. She defeated me with ice, and I intend to do the same. Wait a minute. You lost to an ice user, Lucy exclaimed emphatically. This embarrassed Gray, who was flushed and mocked by the majority of his male peers, primarily Natsu and Naruto. It's best if we inform Master first, and then we can make a plan, Mira said flatly, leaving little room for debate. But by then, it could be too late. We don't know why those guys wanted Urza. All we know is that they want her alive for the time being. Naruto made a valid point, but Mira couldn't risk it. That's why I'll go alone. It's better than sending you guys to your possible deaths, and I'm no pushover myself. The others argued, but Mira took over. May I remind you that I am an S-class wizard, which means I am in charge until Master returns. I will send a message to Master and then leave to find them, she said, turning to Natsu. Gray took it from Natsu's hands and walked up to Mira, offering her the map. Everyone in the hall was taken aback. Thank you, Gray, at least you can see reason. Be careful, Mira, she has a trump card, and that's what allowed her to take the two of us out in an instant, he warned. She froze time. This was even scarier than the prior news. How is that possible? You said she used ice magic, but does she also use time magic? Mira inquired. The others were also having doubts about it. I don't know, but I was able to move in her frozen space, if only a little. I'm not sure how I did it, but I could feel that she exerted a lot of energy to use it. I think she can only use it as a last resort, but I'm not sure yet. Gray was hoping that this would persuade Mira to go in alone. I'll keep that in mind if I have to fight her, Gray said, forcing him to elaborate. You can't. Remember that the Demon Blades want Urza, so expect more of their members. Even if it's not a trap, even if you could beat Esdeath on your own, there's a good chance you'd have to fight the other members. This did not have the desired effect, as Mira insisted on going alone. That's a risk I'm willing to take, she said, smiling. I'll let everyone know you're okay, Gray, and I want you all to promise me that you won't say anything to anyone until Master returns. I'll write the letter now. Mira exited the room, and Gray coughed to draw everyone's attention. We'll have to make sure she doesn't notice us until the last second, Gray said, pulling out an ice sculpture of the map. Everyone smiled as a result of this. They would, however, have to pick who would travel. There's no way in hell I'm sitting this one out, Gray said, punching his right hand to open his left palm. Do you want to get your ass kicked again? Naruto teased, prompting Gray shoot ice at him, which the blonde evaded cheekily. The wall behind him was not as fortunate. Gramps is going to be pissed. Riku's throne chamber, excellent work, Esdeath. Bring her here as planned, and I will reward you. Though Riku's face was obscured, the guy smirked. Kisame emerged through the doors in front of him, a bloodied body slung over his left shoulder. Zabuza was the name. I see you also finished your mission, Kisame said as he put Zabuza in front of Riku. Why you? Zabuza coughed, glaring at Riku, who was amused at this point. Our Riku. Zabuza tried to stand up, but Kisame's left foot stepped on his head, pinning him down. My old friend Zabuza, the man known as the Mist Demon, you have dishonored the name of the Demon Blades, Riku reflected. You should be grateful that I changed my mind about killing you. Riku took out one of the red stones that his minions had given back to him, but this time it was a dark crimson. That's. Ah. Zabuza couldn't continue as Kisame drew his arm back and cracked it. You remember my current goal, which is to create an army of super soldiers, and you Zabuza will be the first, but you already knew my plans regarding the red stones, because you were opposed to their use. Riku rose up and kneeled. I told you we'd talk when you got back, but you ended up losing to a wizard in a light guild. Listen to Hunter x Hunter 2011 Ost the Puppeteer. I do not like failure. After your loss, my own son and Orion fell in their battles. Your loss began a domino effect. When one of us falls, we all begin to fall. Riku's bloodlust showed again, but this time, in Zabuza's eyes, it appeared as if insects and snakes comprised Riku's face, but this was simply an effect Riku's bloodlust showed to anyone who saw his face. Which do you think was creepier, Aluma's bloodlust from HXH 2011 or Gakuho Asano's horrible moments from Assassination Classroom? Now, be a useful little guinea pig for me, will you? Riku said, and screaming could be heard from the Demon Blade's base. Unfortunately for Zabuza, no one would come for him. End of Ost. With Esdeath. Time for rest. I haven't taken hits like this in a long time. Esdeath landed and camped out for the evening, intending to continue her journey back to the base the next day. It'll take 2 days, and I'll be able to cure my injuries while I rest, she said, lighting a fire and putting her pet to sleep, making careful to bound Urza. Esdeath wandered away from the camp, immersed in her thoughts. That ice wizard could move through frozen space and employ the same power as that woman. If he survives, my trump card may be less powerful against him the next time. She suddenly remembered Naruto. And the boy, he was just like his friends. They all have strong wills, but the vibe of that blonde boy reminds me of Riku. A powerful will that few people have, but has the potential to be a devastating force in the future. I should ask Riku if he knows anything about him. Esdeath hunted for her food but stayed deep in concentration, wondering if there were any fairy tale wizards with strong souls. Returning to Mira. I'll be back in a few days, maybe a week, Elfman, so don't worry about me, Mira said to her younger brother, who muttered about her being so macho. Mira left, dressed in a jacket, and rented a magical vehicle to assist her trip. I hope Master receives the letter soon, she groaned. You can come out now, I know you want to come along. I expected you to disobey like always, she remarked, and Natsu, Gray, Naruto, Wendy, Juvia, and Lucy followed. They were followed by Carla, Happy, and Kurama. You knew what we were planning? Lucy inquired hesitantly. Mira only gave a sorrowful smile. You guys are crafty like that, and I'm one of the best magic sensors, no matter how hard you try to hide it, and I had a feeling you'd do something like this, so the answer is still no. Her smile faded into a solemn face. Sorry, Mira, but just because you're S-class doesn't mean you're the boss of us. Urza's our friend, and we can't just sit back and do nothing, Naruto responded. You don't get it at all, do you? Mira shook and was about to yell at them when Natsu interrupted. We understand, we've all lost someone important to us, and we don't want to lose anyone else, Mira said, a tear leaving her eye. As an S-class wizard of fairy tale, I have to make sure you all are safe with Master not here and Urza captured, Mira said. We won't die, not until Urza returns to us, with fairy tale, Naruto declared as he punched his chest. True, we'd be breaking the rules, but we'd rather break them than abandon a friend. Listen to the fairy tale main theme's sad version. This isn't about that at all. I lost someone important to me because of a mistake, and I'm not going to let it happen again. Mira started having flashbacks about when Lee-sana died. Everyone understood now. Wendy approached her and hugged her, much as Naruto had done for her when she lost Kate's shelter. I heard about your little sister's death, and I know you don't want to lose anyone else, and I agree with you, she said, smiling at her. While I've only known you for a short time, I consider you a friend, Mira, and if anything were to happen to you, I would be sad. Mira realized that while she didn't want to lose them, they felt the same way about her. She's right, you know, Naruto said. You're also a close friend to us, Mira, Lucy added. Yeah. Both Natsu and Gray exclaimed. Carla flashed a little smile and Kurama stared carefully as Happy joined them. We're coming with you so that we all, including you and Urza, can return to our home, to Fairy Tale, Wendy said, and Mira burst into tears and hugged the girl back. Use Fairy Tale main theme original version instead. Mira brushed away her tears and grinned as the girls finished hugging. Let's go, she exclaimed as the others joined her in the driver's seat. Kurama sniffed and brushed away a tear, hoping no one noticed. Naruto, unfortunately for Kurama, did. Were you crying? Naruto inquired, to which the fox responded, no, just something in your eye. And no, yelled a dark-skinned man as his lackeys were slaughtered one by one. Sadly, Sasuke arrived in front of him and slashed him in half. Sasuke's left arm was replaced with a prosthetic one that had a blade protruding from the elbow. According to Lan Fan's automail from FMA. B. The group Sasuke slaughtered was essentially Wild Hunt, and I despise them. This new arm isn't bad at all. I can even channel my magic into it, Sasuke said as his arm blade retracted into the appendage. Master Hades sure knows how to build useful equipment, Sasuke said to the two onlookers. Zankro, Rusty Rose, Sasuke said, acknowledging the young guy with red eyes, long wild blonde hair, and a mad expression on his face, as well as the other man with silver hair, though not near as silver as Silva's, in an unusual hairdo, and wearing sunglasses. I see you dealt with those weaklings, though I expected the last one to at least put up a fight, Rusty Rose said, followed by Zankro's laughter. I didn't even get a chance to warm up, Sasuke said, looking down at his left metallic hand. Gray Fullbuster, I'm going to use you to evaluate capacity, and then I'm going to find my brother. I'm going to kill him, Sasuke said quietly, all three being watched by Hades and his crystal ball. Along with Master Hades, Sasuke, you have such a gloomy heart. However, you were a member of the Uchiha clan. Killing is second nature to this nasty clan. Your brother, on the other hand, was an oddball. He possessed a light-based power. Hades rose up and walked outside. You can come out right now, Jelal. You really are different from your subordinates. His power is also no laughing matter. Blue Note and Azuma are nothing compared to Master Hades. Jelal exited the council wearing the same outfit he wore secretly. He then noticed Sasuke's image in the crystal ball. I see Sasuke has a new arm. How did you convince one of the last Uchiha clan survivors to join Grimoire Heart? So, you heard of the Uchiha clan? Hades wisely inquired of the young guy, who replied with his knowledge of the clan. A clan of thieves and murderers, they specialized in fire magic and burned down villages if they didn't get their way, but they were wiped out by one of their own, Itachi Uchiha, Jelal recounted, recalling Itachi as one of the demon blades. I met him when he was a boy and promised him power to defeat Itachi. It's as simple as that, Hades replied, not surprising Jelal in the least. If that's all, I'll leave, the ancient man said, leaving Jelal alone. So, vengeance? Then Sasuke can be a useful ally. Jelal then looked down at his hands. This time it's my intention. No one will be able to manipulate me anymore. Jelal departed the throne room and went about his business. Along with Master Makarov, that meeting was difficult. But, for the time being, I'm pleased it's finished. Makarov recalled the meeting and how he discussed Riku. The meeting had ended hours ago, and it was now nighttime. Recalling the earlier in the day encounter, the Wolf Knight, Ostrava jumped to her feet. He was said to be the greatest swordsman to fight for Ishgar. Anastasia, who had heard of the famed swordsman, stood up as well. Serena gazed at Makarov. Now I remember, I was a child when I met him. He was once a fairy tale wizard and a former member of Fiore's military, wasn't he? Serena questioned calmly, causing the small old man to smirk. No, he was never a member of Fairy Tail, but he was in the military many years ago, and I have no idea where he is now, Makarov said, leaving more questions than answers. We have 2 Demon Blade members and most of the Oración Cease in prison, perhaps we can question them. Kakashi proposed. His plan sounded fine until Warrod shot it down. Do you really think they'd be willing to talk? Anastasia asked the silver-haired man. Perhaps not, but there's no harm in asking. Kakashi rose up. I'm going to go there and try to get some answers from them. After all, we have nothing to lose and everything to gain. How would you get them to talk? Ostrava questioned, his inquiry differing from Anastasia's in that he asked if he had a means to encourage them to talk rather than if they would talk. If I can't bribe them, there's always torture. Kakashi grinned as the 2 younger members sweated. I will inform the council if I obtain any information, and they will inform you, Kakashi said as he bowed and dashed out the door. Makarov gazed at Kakashi's vacant chair. Something didn't sit right with him. He's typically more relaxed, and he wasn't as late. I can also sense that he is stiff, as if a burden has been placed on his shoulders. Everyone expressed his ideas. I believe this meeting has been adjourned for the time being, Hyberion said authoritatively. Remember, everyone, keep an eye out for Grimoire Heart's activities and approach them with caution. End of flashback. The Demon Blades in Grimoire Heart. This is quite troubling. I wish you were still living, Minato. I intended you to succeed me and led Fairy Tail in my place. Makarov sensed a disturbance and reached into his pocket for a lacrima. Is there a message? Makarov played it and almost dropped it towards the end. Damn it all. Makarov yelled, alerting the others, guards and 2 of his fellow wizard saints. Master Makarov, what is wrong? Asked Ostrava and Anastasia, who had come. Makarov appeared agitated. He turned to face them, and his words helped them understand his predicament. One of my children has been abducted by Esdeath of the Demon Blades. They all knew of Esdeath's notoriety and brutality. I must go and stop my other foolish children. Then let us assist you, Master Makarov. Sir Jura mentioned how powerful Silva Uzumaki was, and we have no idea how powerful the other members are, Anastasia and Ostrava said. Are you sure? I don't want anything bad to happen to you. While he acknowledged their strength, he would feel awful if he endangered their lives. While we are nowhere near as powerful as you or some of the others, we will assist you and your guild in your time of need, Ostrava replied, with Anastasia standing behind him. I will also accompany you, Jura announced with a smile. Makarov thanked them as they hurried to save Makarov's children. Along with Kakashi, Kakashi was riding his horse and lost in thought. Master, I will not let your son suffer as long as I breathe oxygen. Kakashi's horse accelerated as they approached the prison. Along with Esdeath. Why can't I get them out of my head? She kept seeing images of Naruto and Gray's determined expressions in her mind. She also noticed within Gray. He utilized the same magic as she did and even had the same aura. It irritates me. Esdeath frowned. You seem troubled? Urza's voice caused Esdeath to turn to her hostage, who couldn't do anything because she was chained. Urza sneered at her, knowing something must have happened when she was defeated and hoping to anger Esdeath, albeit it did not work. You could say that, your comrades left quite an impression, Esdeath replied honestly, seeing Urza's uncertainty. Another one of your comrades has arrived, a blonde-haired guy. What have you done to Gray and Naruto? Urza screamed as her shackles prevented her from attacking Esdeath, whose sneer returned when she saw her captive's violent behavior. Well, I cut up the ice wizard, which is this Gray, I presume. Seeing Urza fight her again verified this. Though that blonde, or should I say Naruto, took him to get him healed, but I'm guessing Gray is already dead. Esdeath did not receive the reaction she desired, as Urza sighed in satisfaction. Did you not hear what I said? Your friend is already dead? Esdeath grumbled. We have the best healers in Fairy Tail. Gray won't die as long as we have them, Urza said, trusting Wendy and Porlyuzica. Esdeath just frowned. We'll see, Esdeath said, returning his gaze to the sky. She didn't notice Urza gradually began to work on breaking free from her shackles. In Mira's company. How are they holding up? Mira inquired of Grey, who turned to face the two male dragon slayers who were laying on the laps of the other females. Naruto sat on Wendy's lap, while Natsu sat on Lucis. Mira's eyes twinkled again. They all look so adorable together. She's playing matchmaker once more. Grey's teeth suggested that he didn't want to know what was going through Mira's head. Grey returned his attention to the road. Mira, I think we should rest for the time being. They're all tired, and I don't think those two can hold out much longer, Grey said, pointing to Natsu and Naruto, both of whom appeared to be in horrible form. You make a valid point, Mira said as they came to a halt and set up camp for the night. I'll keep watch tonight, so you can all get some rest. She smiled, but it appeared that she was the most fatigued of all of them, having not gotten much sleep and relying on her magic to power the car. Relax for a moment, Mira, Naruto said as he drew a sleeping Kurama from nowhere. Kurama can actually warn us, he can sense hostiles even when he's sleeping. A little thing I learned when I took him on jobs with me. I camped out and while I was sleeping, he warned me about some rogue wizards and then I beat them up. They were impressed by this, and most of them realized that, despite his personal flaws, Kurama is quite helpful. You know, I remember Angel of the Oracion Cease calling Kurama a monster. I wonder if that is true. Kurama doesn't seem like the bloodthirsty type. Lucy glanced at the sleeping fox, making the others think about it. Now that you mention it, Old Man Jura has also confirmed it. Naruto was immersed in contemplation as he glanced at Kurama. I've known you since I was a child, Kurama, but he never used to fight. Not that I recall. Naruto was deep in contemplation. Are you okay, Naruto? Wendy jolted him out of his reverie, and the blonde grinned back, answering that he was fine. They soon fell asleep, with just Kurama's eye opening for a few seconds. If our adversaries are strong, I'll have to battle hard as well. After all, I did promise his grandfather that I would protect him. Kurama went back to sleep. Prison of the Magic Council. 2 guards were bored out of their minds yet remained in their posts. They noticed someone approaching slowly and pointed their spears at the oncoming figure. It had to be Itachi. Halt! Who goes there? One of the guards yelled, only for both of their throats to be slit and their lifeless bodies to fall to the ground. First I find Orion and Silva, then their weapons, Itachi reasoned as he prepared to complete his objective. To be continued.
That's it for this part, guys. Thanks for listening to this video. If you did enjoy this part of the story, like, share, and subscribe for more. And thank you all for helping support, and have a great day.